going to share today. So please, please, and please, if you don't have your book and pen, please go ahead and grab that while we wait for others. Just 1 more minute, and then we're going to go right into the session of today. Okay, so let's begin. So today I'm going to be talking about or talking on the topic or speaking of the topic, build a stellar academic tracker to secure full scholarship. Okay, so we're going to be talking about how to do this. And I'm going to take you through different components that we're going to look at that plays a role in you being able to build this stellar academic tracker to secure full scholarships to whichever school you have in mind. Now, before I go any further, I want to know where you guys are joining us from. I already have Alpha, who is joining us from Liberia, but I want to know in the chat box. Let me know where you're joining us from. Ekiti, wow. Okay, it's nice to meet you. Ghana, we have Kumasi, Ghana. So let me know in the chat box. Only 3 people have responded. Kwara State, nice. Lagos, Nigeria, Abeokuta, Kano, Senegal, nice. Okay, Oyo State, Kano, Akure, that should be Ondo State. Okay, Kaduna, Brighton, UK, Abuja, Port Harcourt. Okay, fantastic. So clearly we have different people from different walks of life and from different locations. So I just want to let you know that everything we're going to talk about today is beneficial to you, regardless of where you're from. So far, your intention is to apply for the graduate studies, then you're in the right place because this applies to you as well. As I always say in my sessions, you're free to turn on your videos. This is meant to be a very, very connected class where we're able to really talk to each other and understand what we are saying. And oftentimes for me, it's helpful when I'm able to see you guys. Okay. Um, moving along. Let me tell you very quickly about us, specifically for those who are just getting to know about Getting for the very first time. So we are the foremost education social impact organization. We're passionate about empowering the next generation of leaders in Africa through education. That's very important. Education is our key way of impacting the next generation. Now, we're established in 2017. Getting Education Consulting is not just a social impact organization, but a collective of visionaries committed to advancing Africans, starting with Nigerians. Our objective, our mission is to empower Africans, starting with Nigerians, to access global opportunities regardless of their financial limitation. So if you're the kind of person who maybe perhaps you don't have the financial means to sponsor yourself for your master's or your PhD, you're in the right place, because what we teach our people is to be able to access these opportunities um, and secure full scholarships. That's our goal for each of our community members. So if that's something you want for yourself, then you're in the right place as well. So this is a picture of our team, obviously not exhaustive, but this is just some of us in that picture. To date, we have secured $8 million and even more for our community members, but this is based on the numbers we have access to. So $8 million for our community members since 2017. We currently have over 50,000 community members combined in all our community platforms. We have over 50,000 of them. And we've also had 1,500 plus students who have secured some kind of scholarship via our graduate bootcamp. I'm going to talk about our graduate bootcamp very quickly later on, but we've had 1,500 plus people secure scholarships as a result of our bootcamp. So this is just to show you that, whatever we are telling you here, you can be convinced that the information we're giving you is definitely packed. Now, let's get into the discussion for today. Let me ask you guys, how many of you have previously applied to study abroad? But don't just answer yes. I want you to tell me the amount of schools you have applied to so far at a specific period of time. So let's say in 2024, you applied to how many schools? Or 2023, you applied to how many schools? Let me know in the chat box the amount of schools you applied to, or the highest amount of schools you have applied to within an academic year. Let me know in the chat box. Damola says none. Okay. Okay, says, wow. Buteng says 12. That's interesting. Adibandra says 7. Wow. Okay. Largest for me says 2. Okay. Okay, says I got admission, but not scholarships. Then you're in the right place. You're at the right place then. Okay. 7. Right. Now, very good. I like the feedback I'm getting. So that means I have people in this session who are not just new. They're not new to the admission or application cycle. They've been doing this in the past and they're quite very conversant with the process. That makes me very happy. Now, imagine having all your academic achievements, your qualifications and scholarship applications organized in one place. Okay, easy to access and tailored for every opportunity you are applying to. So whether you're applying to the United States, you're applying to Canada, applying to the UK, Australia, Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, what have you, wherever you might be applying to, Poland, Finland, wherever it is, you have it all in one document. Now, that is the power of an academic tracker. One thing I've found in the past is sometimes students forget or lose track of when an application closes, And I've even seen people, because they lost track of when the application closed, or maybe because they lost track of how to gather their information, whichever it is, we understand. For those of us who school in Nigeria, we understand that if you're going to like a state school or federal school, and you want to travel abroad, you better have started the process of getting your transcripts months before, because we all know that the vast majority of times it's quite very difficult to get your transcript at the right time if your intention is to travel to study in the Western country. I have someone who I spoke to a couple days ago who told me that the reason why she cannot even apply this year is because she has not gotten a university transcript. And it made me feel very sad, because I was like, but you knew you wanted to travel since the beginning of the year. Why didn't you start the process then? So this is part of the things that our academic tracker helps you do. It helps you put everything in one place and helps you track things effectively. Now, today, we are not just going to talk about the importance of organization. We're going to build a tool that can be the key to securing a full scholarship and transforming your educational journey. Let's start building your future one entry at a time. So, very important. So, this session, we're not just going to talk about, oh, these are the things that this is why it's important to organize yourself and have a good mechanism for time management and things like that. It's going to be more than that. We're going to go in depth a little bit into the different components of your academic tracker and how you can, curate these things in the most effective way, in such a way that it's helps you as an individual and also helps your overall outcome for your academic journey. Now, our learning objective of today. Our learning objective is to teach you how to create an academic tracker that effectively organizes your qualifications and achievements, making it easier to apply for scholarships. Objective number one, you understand the importance of an academic tracker. Okay? Participants will grasp how an academic tracker can help them stay organized, focused, and competitive for scholarships. Number two, you customize your tracker for scholarship applications. Participants will gain skills in tailoring their academic tracker to specific scholarship requirements to highlight their strengths effectively. Objective number three, how to manage your time and multitask. Very important. You learn how to manage your time and multitask effectively. Now, my only ask of you people is to be open-minded, okay? Be open-minded throughout this process. It's not just for you to just go through the process and just receive. I know that the vast majority of you are coming with your own knowledge of going through an admission process, especially for those of you who have been there, done that. Some of you have applied to 12 schools in the past, you've applied to 7 schools in the past. But I can promise you right off the top that you're going to learn some things that are different from what you've known before. Okay. Now, this is a visual sample or representation of what our academic tracker looks like. So at Getting, we have an academic tracker that we developed for our community members, and this is what it looks like. Okay. So it starts with something we call the name of your university. You're going to start with that. Don't just put academic tracker there. Start with the name of the university. Now, in choosing your university, you don't just pick that carelessly. I'm going to go into that a little bit. First, I'm going to talk about what you should look at when picking your university. Now, in picking your university, it's not just something that you're just going to put any school there. You're going to have to look at that a little critically in picking the university you pick. For our Getting community, some of the things we tell them to do is you don't just pick a school. There are 3 core things you look at when picking a school. Number one, the relevance of the program you're going for. What is the relevance of the program? What program are you going for? How important is that program to you? Do you meet all the requirements of that program? I hope someone is taking note of these things because I'm deviating a little bit and going a little deeper into the components of your academic tracker. It's not just picking a school. Number one, what is the school? Do you meet all the requirements of that school you're about to choose? Okay. However many the requirements are. So some schools might say, submit a writing sample. What is that writing sample? What will be in that writing sample? Have you written a writing sample? Are you going to write one? Okay. So, like I said, back to the 3 things that will help you pick the right university. And this is highly dependent on if picking a school that has or will offer you a full scholarship matters to you, right? So number one thing you're looking at, do they offer full funding? whether they offer it in form of a fellowship, a graduate assistantship, or whatever the case is. So what you're looking at in picking a school is, number one, do they offer full scholarships? Number two, do I meet all the requirements? Right? Number three, the application fee. Can I afford it? You know, like Yorubas will say, they will say this thing. Owo ni koko, money is the most important aspect of things. Can I afford it? I've seen people pick schools that they can't even afford the application fee. That's not a wise use of your time. Okay, let me go through it again. The three most important things when picking a school. Number one, what are the requirements of the school? Do I meet everything? Number two, can I afford the application fees? Number three, which is the most important one, do they offer full scholarship? Now, full scholarships come in different forms. It could be in form of a graduate assistantship, or a teaching assistantship, or a research assistantship. It could also be in form of a fellowship. It could be in form of merit-based scholarships. So it comes in different forms, okay? But the most important thing is, do they offer full scholarship? I always tell my community members, if you are confused about anything at all, reach out to the school. That is the reason why a school and a program has something called a graduate coordinator. That's their job. And the truth is, these people are happy to listen to you. Before I move any further, if you have any friends that are not here right now and you think they should benefit from the things I'm saying right now, please reach out to them. Okay? Number two, if you know that you don't have your book and your pen with you right now, especially for my current boot campus, grab your book and pen. Okay? A lot of the things I'm going to say right now applies to you directly in your application process. So grab your book and pen. If you know that you have family members, cousins, aunties, brothers, sisters, husbands, wife, boyfriend, girlfriends that you feel should be here, send them the link to join right now. You don't want them to miss out. Now, in terms of your referees or references, or the names of your referee, your choices of referees, okay? For my boot campers, I'm going to have another session where I go in depth into picking the right referee. But for the general community, let me just tell you this. It's not enough to just say your Oga is going to be your referee. That's not an effective choice. What comprises, remember, I'm not just talking about all these things. I'm telling you the factors that makes for a good choice. And I hope someone is taking note of these factors. I hope you are all doing so. Now, for your references, what the factor that takes note of a good referee is two factors. And I'm going to tell you those two factors right now. Number one, can this person say a specific thing about you? Can they say? It's not, do you think they can say? I said, can they say? Please remember, your perception does not matter here. It is their perception of you that matters. KK says she can't hear me. Does that apply to everyone? Can you all not hear me? If you're the only one that can't hear me, that means it's your network and it's not necessarily
We
from
can
my
hear you.
end.
Can hear you very well.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So what's going on, okay? Perhaps move from where you are to a better place where you can have a good network reception. That might help. Okay? Okay, fantastic. Let's move along. So I'm saying that there are two factors that comprises of a good referee. It is not your perception that I work with this person does not matter. I've heard people say things like, I cannot even speak to my referee. Can't ask them anything. That's not a good referee. Let me tell you right now, that's not a good referee. If you cannot express what you need to your referee, that's not a good referee. It is not it is not their perception of you that matters. It is not your perception of what they think of you that matters. It is their perception of you that matters. So, for instance, I'm just going to give an example, right? There's a possibility that you were part of maybe a project in your office. Maybe you worked on a specific project and you really, really left a good impression on your, maybe your line manager or something like that, you know, and you know within yourself that he was very impressed with you, maybe because you won staff of the year as a result of that task or something like that. Now that is a good referee. Please don't put a referee that you know, when you know that your boss does not like you, please don't choose that person as your referee. I'm going to be very honest with you right now. If you have a boss, maybe you don't really know the person, or maybe you only worked with the person for like 2 months, but they didn't have a strong impression of you. Please don't choose those kind of people. Even if it's the governor of your state and the governor of your state does not know you, please don't choose that kind of a person. Because what matters more is what this person is able to write about you. Number two, the second most important factor is their willingness. People underestimate the power of willingness, and the willingness of a person matters significantly in your application process. Their willingness. You know, I know that not all of us are Christians here, but there's a verse I always refer to. Can two work together except they agree? Their willingness. Their willingness to work with you. Because sometimes when you're applying to some schools, there are important qualities those schools want to see in your reference letters. So if your referee is not willing to work with you on writing a stellar reference letter, you know you have lost already, because you can expect already that your competitors, that is other students that are applying for that same program, are probably getting referees that are willing to go all out for them. So just imagine you having a referee that is not even willing to work with you in developing the best reference letter for you. So who can remind me, what are the two factors that I said are most important in this process? Use the hand raising function and I'll call you before I move ahead. I want to know that people are getting exactly what I said. Okay, Oluwadamlola, unmute and speak.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
You said for our reference, the factors of a good referee. Can this person say a specific thing about me? Someone who isn't going to say generic things like, oh, he's a good boy, or he did this. Someone who would say, on this day, this happened. This person displayed this quality, and their willingness to go, the further steps towards ensuring that their reference letters are, they correlate with the criteria from the school, what they expect of you. Then you said for picking of schools, we should ask ourselves, we should be
Oh
a
no,
bit
no,
of
no, no.
interest.
Wait,
Oh, okay.
let's give someone else an opportunity to speak. You've done great, Oluwadamlola. Thank you so much for speaking. Okay, so for someone else, I want to hear about the factors that I said. I mentioned 3 factors for picking the right university. I want someone to use the hand raising function to speak to me. I want to hear from someone else. Okay, Okari Dai. I hope I pronounced your name properly. You can mute and speak. I can't hear you, please.
Can you hear me?
Hello? Okari Dai, are you here? Am I the only one who can hear him?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you better now.
Hello?
Hello? I can hear you better now. You're clearer.
Okay. About the 2 factors you mentioned, is the very first one, we should look out for scholarships. Maybe it's fully funded, partially.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
second one is to check if we meet the requirements
Yes.
for the particular program we are going for. And the third one is to check if we can afford the application fee.
Good, good, good. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. Okay, I think Oluwadamilala, you can put your hand down. Okay, so moving along. So your personal statement or your motivation letter. Now, I I want to give you something you can go home with for your personal statement. You know, how will I put it? Now, I always tell people this for your personal statement. Something I always tell community members before you write your personal statement, there are a few things I want you to do. Now, if you have done process one properly, if you have done process one properly, that is, in choosing your schools, you have looked at it, you have tumbled the whole website, you are very, very conversant with the program you're choosing in such a way that you are clear that this is the right program for me. It's easier for you to pick, to write a stellar personal statement. But there's something I always tell my community members to do before they start writing personal statements. I always say for each program, one thing I want you to do is write out at least 5 possible leadership narratives about yourself in regards to that program. So let me give an example. So maybe, for instance, you want to study, let's say, chemical engineering, for instance, right? And your maybe interest is to find how you can um, recycle plastics. That's what you want to do, right? Now, maybe in your earlier years, you interned with, I'm trying to look for name of an organization, uh, let's say Eleganza. You interned with Eleganza for maybe 6 months. And what you were doing is you were working in the recycling unit that helped to recycle waste products into chairs. That's what you were doing. You did that for just 3 months. And then you took the knowledge of that and infused it into your um into your you took that knowledge and used that to establish your own organization. And now what you do is you go to the slum parts of Lagos to pick plastics. You even pay people to pick plastics, and then you recycle it and then sell the products. Like, you establish a social impact organization that does that, and then the money and proceeds you get from that, you use that to take care of the community in return. Do you know that from that you already have like 2 or 3 or even 4 different stories that you can write and coin out of that experience? Am I correct, guys? Let me know in the chat box if I've not lost you
Yes,
guys with
yes,
my
yes.
analogy. Okay. Yeah. So let's say that's your storyline. I mean, of course, I know that there are people here who maybe studied accounting, or maybe you studied, maybe you work in a fintech, or you even studied writing. Let's even say you're a writer, right? Let's say you participated in, um let's even say you didn't participate in anything, because oftentimes I have people who say things like, oh, well, but I don't have all these stellar experiences, I've not really done anything. Say you have not done anything. Okay, let me even say you have not done anything at all. You've not written anything. But let's say you want to go to university to study um literature, and you know that you're about to apply to programs for your literature program. What I will expect you to do, what I would demand of you to do within my community, is to say that, look, every week I'm going to task you with writing a poem or short story, and I want you to publish on LinkedIn on a weekly basis. Every week. For the next 3 months, I want you to do that. And I want you to title that series. Who can give me a creative name that we can title this series for such a writer? Someone should give me a suggestion in the chat box. A writer that wants to start writing a series, but wants to publish them on LinkedIn. Can, good, Into the Void. I love that. Very, very abstractish and, mysterious name. I love that. So let's say Into the Void. Now, you're going to start writing poems on a weekly basis. You're going to publish them on LinkedIn on a weekly basis, or you're going to start writing stories, or you're going to start writing short stories, abstract. Start writing, even if it's spoken word narrations, you're going to start publishing them on LinkedIn on a weekly basis. Do you know that you have started, even if you have never worked in your life, you've never worked in a journal, you've never worked anywhere before, but you start compiling the feedback of your readers, start compiling the feedback of your reviewers, invite people to review your work online. You compile that and infuse them as your experience into your essay. Do you know that you stand a good chance of actually securing a good scholarship as a result of that essay? Do you know? Because oftentimes I found that people think of the obvious things. Oh, I secured 1 million naira for my organization. But they forget that sometimes what their admissions committee is looking for is someone who had no way, but somehow created a way for themselves. That's the definition of a real success story. Someone who had no way. You didn't have a way of getting a job. You didn't have a way of securing these experiences through a big organization or a big printing house. You didn't become a New York bestseller, but you found a way, you found a community for yourself. That is a story in itself. So those are some of the things that should go into your personal statement. If you know that you've never worked before, you don't have any work experience, and you know that you want to put together a good, fantastic personal statement, intern if you must. Intern for free if you must. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Intern for free if you must, within an organization that aligns with your goals. Reach out to people. Tell them you're willing to intern with them part-time. You don't need them to pay you, but you're going to work fully virtual. Commit yourself to things. These things go a long way. I get it all the time. But I've never worked before. But yet you have graduated over a year ago. You have not connected to people on LinkedIn to say, hi, what you do resonates with me so much. Is it possible for me to intern with you for free? I don't need to be paid. Can I work with you for just 3 months? People love value. As a reader, I love to read when people bring value to the table. That is what an admissions committee is looking for. People that bring value. It is when you give me value that I'm willing to invest however many thousands on you. If you're not giving me value, I'm not investing shishi. I will not invest on you. Am I communicating with you guys? Let me know in the chat box if you're understanding what I'm saying or what I've been saying. Good. Thank you very much. Okay. Fantastic. Great. So now, if you have done judicious work about this, let's say you have a dream. For instance, you want to study abroad next year, right? Your intention is to travel for your studies by 2025. I would expect that from January 2024, you begin to find a way. You want to go for a PhD program, you've never written any research work before. You don't have to pay for publishing a research. I'm going to get a research proposal very soon, but let me just even intertwine them. You don't have to pay a publisher house to publish your work. You can publish your work on LinkedIn. How many of you knew that you could publish your work on LinkedIn? I'm sure the vast majority of you don't know you can publish your work on
I don't
LinkedIn.
know. I don't know.
Exactly. So I want you to leave here knowing that you can do that today. Write an article on a subject that matters to you. Publish it on LinkedIn. Invite specialists. Tag them to review what you have written. Tag them to leave their comments on what you have written. That's a published work. You have published already. And when you are writing your essay, you will be able to write and say, yes, I published a thesis on an article on so and so. I got Dr. This of so and so university who shared his insight. I got Professor This of the University of Georgia who shared his insight on this and that. That is how you package your work together. You don't have to have money to pay ResearchGate to publish your work for you. You don't have to have that kind of money. A lot of us don't. And I understand that. You can find creative ways putting your work out there. And LinkedIn is an amazing tool to do that. Twitter is also another amazing tool to do that. But LinkedIn is the most effective way to do that, or Facebook. You must have done a preliminary research, looked for all these professors that are authorities in your field. Write them down, write their names down, write their acts at so person, so that by the time you are publishing your work, you say, I'm inviting Professor at Professor this to review, Professor this, Professor that, Professor this, Professor that. You can even go as far as sending them a DM, tagging them on your work. That is the work that it requires sometimes to get what you want. Sometimes it's not always straightforward, unfortunately. It's unfair, but it's true. It's not always straightforward for some people. Even if you do that once, you don't have to do this forever. Even if you do that once, it counts as something. If you can just put in the work, do it one time. Get enough time for these people to put in their 2 cents to, put in their 2 cents and things like that. It helps. Okay? Now, for your research, please, let's all mute ourselves. Team, please help us go around to mute people completely, except they're invited to speak, please. Okay. Now, people underestimate the 2 core most important parts of their research personal statement. I mean, for their personal statement now, not research, the personal statement. People forget the most important part. An important part of your personal statement is your opening statement. One of the things that I teach boot campers is how to write a catchy opening statement. It is very important. Your opening statement has to draw people in. If it doesn't draw people in, you have lost your touch on whoever is reading it. I can tell you for free because I've read over 500 essays as a result. What am I saying? Over 1,000 essays as a result of this bootcamp, if not over 2,000 even. I've read too many essays, too many research statements, too many research proposals, and I can tell you for free, your opening statement is very important. But what you write within the first 5 lines of your work is too important. You cannot even emphasize that enough. So don't write a generic opening statement. Please don't write some of you that always start your essays with an adage. If you cannot see far from being, please don't do all those cliche things. Your opening statement has to directly correlate with your essay itself. And these are part of the things we teach in-depthly in our bootcamp. You're going to learn it during your online course, and you're also going to practice it in your accountability group. And I always tell people, you're going to work. The bootcamp is not a do it for me platform. Absolutely not. You're going to learn to do it for yourself, and you're going to work. The second part that is most important too is your closing statement. Your closing statement has to somehow remind your reader of your opening statement and of your middle statement. I know it sounds hard, but it's doable. We've supported many people to do this in the past. That's the reason why when some bootcampers were telling me, Jimmy, I've written my essay. So you've written which essay? You literally just went through the course. You need some time to be able to write your essay. And when they say, oh, please, can you review my essay for me? I'm like, no, I can't review that essay. You need to go through that process of learning how to construct your personal statement before I review your essay. And I know some of you are like, yes, I actually reached out to her to review my essay. I mean, our cohort 2 that are doing their bootcamp right now. Some of them, while they were doing the online course, reached out to me, I've written my essay, can you review it? I'm like, no, you're not there yet. Because I know you need some time to be able to write a good personal statement that captivates anybody and communicates exactly what you want to do in graduate school. Very important. So who can take me through again? What are the 3 things that I said are most important in your personal statements? Use the hand raising function. Nobody, or everything I've said, I've been talking over you people's heads. I hope I've not though. Nobody wants to speak. Okay, I think you guys are typing in the chat box. Okay. Nobody is using the hand raising function to speak. Okay, I can see Oluwaseun. Okay, Oluwaseun, you can unmute. I've asked you to unmute.
Hi, Hi, Jimmy. Good afternoon.
Hi, good
Just to
afternoon.
give a quick recap, you spoke about the essence of when drafting or highlighting an essay, we should be very keen in our opening and also the closing statement, because that's what would really help us in terms of when the reader is going through our essays, and that can actually either mark our essay or give it like a go ahead. So you made a lot of emphasis regarding the opening statement and also the closing statement.
Yeah, but there's one more thing that I mentioned. Who can tell me that one more thing? Okay, I think someone already wrote it in the chat box. Oluwadam Lola. All right. 2 core parts of opening statement, caption, and middle statements and closing statement. But there was something I mentioned. Okay, he didn't really capture what I mentioned. Okay, let me just go through it. I said the first thing I said, even before mentioning the opening and closing statements, was being able to tell your story. That's what even took me into the explanation that I gave. Please mute yourself if you're not speaking. Okay, being able to tell your story is very, very important. Your story. That's the reason why I said list out at least 5 storylines that aligns with your future objectives, whether your academic objectives or whatever the case is. Write out at least 5 stories and develop those stories very, very well. Now, nobody's asking you to put all those 5 stories in one essay, absolutely not. But you're going to put the one that is most relevant to that application. You find a way of infusing it. Now, in finding a way to put these things together, we teach that in our bootcamp, how you structure your essays in such a way that you're telling your story in the best way, and you're also engaging the people while convincing them that you're the best candidate they can possibly admit into their program. Okay. Now, I also said something about your research proposal before I move ahead. Who can tell me what I said about your research? Yeah, your research proposal. You can use the hand raising function and I would call you to mute. Anyone? I said some things. Okay, Oluwaseun, you can unmute.
All right. So you spoke about the essence of, first of all, identifying the topic, the research topic would like to go in for, then also identifying if there is a need for us to if there is a need for us to come up with a sample writing, and then for in a situation where you probably have not published an article or a publication, which might really take time. You spoke about the essence of also pushing it out on LinkedIn and also tagging relevant professors that could also help in terms of reviewing the essays. And through this, we could also infuse it in the research, in our essays that we would be working on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So it is very important. The core thing I mentioned in your research proposal is publications. Now, oftentimes, most schools don't require, well, don't let me say most schools. This is peculiar to the United States. They often don't require, let's just say 50-50. 50% of schools perhaps require writing samples. Some other schools don't, So one of the core things that I mentioned was publications. However, let me give you guys a secret, okay? And usually I only review this to my boot campers, but I can see that the energy of quite a number of you is very, very high today. And if you're here and you know that you want to go for a PhD program, I want you to listen very closely, okay? Listen very closely. For your research proposal, do not lift a pen to write anything at all until you have found a professor. A lot of times people make a mistake and muddle things up. They think they are to write their research proposal before finding a professor. Absolutely not. You find a professor before you write your research proposal. Okay? Let me just give you the secret right now. In writing your research proposal, first things first, I will tell you this. Whatever area of interest you might have, write out at least 10 sub-interests. This is outside the T, but I'm just going to give you the T right now. Before you write a research proposal, write out, let's say you want to go, maybe your interest is education, right? Now, there are different components of education. There is child education, there's disability education, there is or special education. There are so many parts. There is diversity, inclusion, and equity. There's that part of education. There's racial and social justice side of education. There's the community development side. So just write out everything you might be interested in. Or let me use another one that might be of interest to some of you. Let's say you want to study, you want to go for a PhD in law, right? Now, there might be different areas of law that might be of interest to you. You might be interested in legislation. You might be interested in litigation. You might be interested in maybe arbitration. You might be interested in women justice and things like that. You might also be interested in profiling, racial profiling and things like that. You might just list out all 10 of those things you're interested in. Before you even start researching any school, write everything out first. That's the first thing I need you to do. Then you now start searching for the schools. Okay? You don't start researching before you write down your interest. Absolutely not. You write down your interest first, then you start looking out for schools. Any professor at all that aligns with any of those 10 interests is a potential supervisor. I'm giving you guys a tea right now, right? After you have done that, you might have maybe 30 potential supervisors or maybe 20 potential supervisors, right? Now, out of those 30 and 20, what I want you to do is go through their profile. It's a lot of work, and I know that oftentimes people are lazy to do the work. I'm just going to keep it straight, okay? People don't want to do that kind of work, but it's a lot of work. It's a sacrifice that pays off at the end of the day. You go through all of them's profile and you pick out specific things that aligns with your interests. So let's say maybe they wrote a research on so and so. They worked with a specific organization on a project that they're passionate about, whatever it is. You note all of those things down. Now, by the time you go through all of them's profiles, one thing you should be able to determine is professors that most align with you and professors that don't align with you. Okay, those are things that you should be able to figure out by looking at the schools. Professors that align with you very closely, professors that don't align with you at all. Now, when you have done that and you've been able to filter them out, you might find that you have maybe 7 professors left or 5 left. It is at that point that you now write your research proposal. Because now you are writing your research proposal in such a way that it aligns with you and aligns with your potential supervisors. Am I communicating with someone, or am I sharing too much that is getting too complicated for you? Let me know in the chat box. Good. Fantastic. Okay. I've gotten feedback from enough people. Great. So I'm going to move along. So it is very important. It's at that point that you start reaching out to professors. Now, this is the reason, because people don't do it this way. That's the reason why professors reject them. You don't just write a research proposal and start sending to professor. It doesn't work like that. They will reject you. There has to be alignment. Can you see the way my hand goes into each other? There has to be alignment between your interest and their interest. It has to be able to do this. If it cannot do this, they will not take you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Very important, guys. Now, your preparation for examination, whether you want to prepare for an examination or not, is completely up to you. But of course, if you have done the work in getting your tracker, do you meet all the requirements? So you have to determine, can I afford writing a GRE? Am I willing to write a GRE? Do I need to write a GMAT? Am I willing to write a GMAT? Can I afford writing a GMAT? Can I afford writing IELTS? Do I really need to? Do I want to? Those are questions you have to answer for yourself at this point. It makes doing this part a lot easier for you. Okay? Now, supervisor support. I've touched on that already when talking about your research proposal. It's not enough for you to just do anything anyhow. You have to be very meticulous about this process. That's why I always tell community members, don't spread yourself too thin within any application process. To get the best results, you have to really apply yourself in a very strategic way. So I always tell my attendees, as much as possible, apply to a maximum of 5 schools so that you can put your best foot forward for each of the schools. What I've found is that sometimes people put their best foot forward for like maybe 1 or 2 schools, and then for the however many left, maybe you're applying to 10 schools at a time, you're already tired, you're stressed out. you're just putting anything forward, you are recycling essays, it will not work. So pick maybe 4 or 5 schools, your best application, put it forward. Okay? And in choosing your schools, I always tell people, pick 2 top schools, 2 match schools, and maybe 1 or 2 safety schools. Your top schools are the Harvards of the world, the Yales, the Stanford, the Oxford, those top schools, University of Melbourne, University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, all of those kind of schools, right? 2, then go for your match schools, schools that you meet their requirements and you feel a good chance of getting into all of those schools, right? And then you go to your safety schools, schools that you are going to be admitted to. But don't be overconfident that you don't now put in good application. I'm going to tell you the truth, don't be overconfident, I beg. Okay? Still put your best foot forward for all of the schools. Because I've seen cases where people get admitted to their top schools without funding and get rejected in their safety schools because they didn't put a good application forward. So don't be those kind of people. Okay, make sure you put the best application forward for each of the schools. So don't spread yourself too thin. 4, 5, 6 schools maximum, leave it at that. You put your best application forward for each of the schools. Okay? Now, language requirements, I've talked about that. Your transcripts, I've talked about that at the beginning of this process. I said, if you know that you are going to a school where it's not easy to get your transcript, please, I'm tired of seeing students lose opportunities because they're unable to get their transcripts. So please, request for your transcript from January, and when I say January of the year before. Let's say you want to apply to graduate school in 2025, make sure you have requested your transcript from January 2024. Am I communicating to someone? You want to apply to graduate school in 2025. You want to go to graduate school in 2025. Make sure you have applied for your transcript in 2024, January 2024. In grading the schools, the answer is very simple. Schools abroad have something called a ranking system. So that's how you grade schools. Obviously, Harvard University is not the same level with University of Connecticut. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not on the same level. So obviously, Harvard University is already ahead. The Ivy Leagues in general, but don't get it twisted. There are schools that are not Ivy Leagues that are top schools. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's schools that are not Ivy League universities, but are top schools. Schools like Georgetown University, Stanford. Okay? There are many schools like that. They are not Ivy Leagues, but they are top schools and they are very, very competitive to get into. So for the UK, for instance, we have, they are considered Ivy Leagues of the UK. We have the Oxfords of the world, the Cambridge, LSE. It's not an Ivy League school, but they are tough to get into. UCL, King's College, London. They are not Ivy Leagues, but they are tough schools to get into. You have to bring your game to really get into those kind of schools and to even get funding out of those kind of schools. Okay? Even University of Manchester, it's not an Ivy League school, but it's a top school. Okay, so those are considered top schools. Now, your match schools are the University of Utah, University of Colorado Boulder. Those are match schools. Okay? Now, your safety schools, choosing a safety school is truly dependent on your personal judgment of your materials. And when I say your materials, I mean your application materials. You have to judge that yourself. So what I mean by that is you have to look at your application materials in a very critical manner to say, okay, with this material, I feel like this school will not be difficult for me to get into. Although sometimes people's judgments are wrong. Okay? A school might not be a top school, but that program might be a competitive program. So if a program is a heavily competitive program, it's harder for you to get into, even if it's not a top school. So let me give you an example. So for instance, if you want to apply to a place like University of Texas in Austin, it might not be a top school, it might not be the Ivy Leagues of the world, but sometimes their programs are very competitive to get into. Am I communicating to you guys? Okay, Boteng says I'm choosing 5 safety schools. Hey, I don't blame you for doing that. And let me tell you something. Oftentimes, people who do that have a stronger chance of getting a fully funded scholarship to at least one of those 5 or 6 schools. And that's the truth. I've seen that happen over and over again. Okay, so I don't blame you for doing that. But at the same time, I always tell people, don't sell yourself short and don't let imposter syndrome get the best of you when you're going through your application process. I know that some of you, if I tell you, why not put your application forward for a school like Harvard, you'll be like, me, Harvard. Cannot take me. We've seen that happen before. And they eventually took those kind of people. They didn't even just admit them, but they gave them a full scholarship. So we've seen that happen before. So don't sell yourself short. There's someone who went through our boot camp, our first cohort. I'm on her neck to apply to Harvard and Oxford. Why? Because I've seen her profile and I believe that she's a competitive candidate, even though she doesn't really believe that. I'm on her neck to do it, to go for it. And hopefully she does, and she listens to me. Okay, so someone said, what if my school does not give transcripts? I don't know of any institution that doesn't give transcripts. I've never heard of such a thing in my life. Okay, I've never heard of that. So I don't know of any school that doesn't give transcripts to their students. I've never heard of that. All right. So I don't know. Even Open University, Nigerian Open University gives transcripts. So I've never heard of any institution in Nigeria that doesn't give transcripts to their students. Just haven't heard of it. Okay. All right. Now for your CV, look, we're going to have a session next week where I'm going to talk about CV. So I don't want to waste time on that. We're going to talk about what your CV should look like. We're going to have a guest in our midst for that session. So yeah, I'm going to leave that and just keep that all together. Now, let me just say this. I've read some of you CVs that think that you have all the experience in the world and your CV cannot fit into 2 pages. That's not true. Many programs will ask you to submit a 1-page CV. Okay? Some will ask for 2. Very rarely do programs say you can submit however many pages. Very rarely does that happen. Okay? So your CV is not meant to, let me just say this, your CV is not meant to contain your job description. That's not what a CV is. Your CV is like a testament of you. So it's meant to cover your key achievements as an individual. Okay, that's what a testament of you is. It's like your testimonial in the university, the testimonial you get from your secondary school. It doesn't carry all your results from GS1 up until SS3. That's not what it talks about. It gives an overview of a key testament of who you are. That's what your CV is meant to be. So what I would like to see in a person's CV is your key achievements. That's what I want to see. That's what anybody wants to see. Your key achievements that are relevant to the opportunity you're applying to. So whether you're applying for a job, you're applying for a program, whatever it is, it's your key achievements we want to see in your CV at all times. I don't want to be seeing, I printed documents, I supported the manager. That has absolutely no place in your CV. Okay? Now, I talked about application fee also, whether you can afford it. You insert the amount here. If you know you cannot afford the application fee of a school and they don't give application fee waivers, you already know that's not a school you have a business putting on your application tracker. Okay. Now, deadlines. I cannot emphasize deadlines enough. Your deadline, if you must put intermittent alarms, do that to remind you at different points in time so that you don't miss deadlines. I'm not going to lie to you, at least maybe like 5% of our boot campers sometimes miss their deadlines. Okay? They've told me themselves that sometimes they've missed deadlines in the past. Not necessarily while in the boot camp, but like they've shared that story that they've missed deadlines. That's the reason why they didn't get a specific opportunity. So please, please, and please. And that's something we emphasize during the boot camp as well. Deadlines are important. You must watch your deadline like a hawk. That's the reason why I said, if you know that you want to apply to a program in 2025 and you know that you need a transcript to be able to do so, you must have requested for your transcript by January 2024. 2025 is not the time for you to start requesting your transcripts. It will not work out well for you. Okay? Request your transcript way before. Very important. Now, your references to all of those things tie into your deadline. Most schools will not review your application except they've received all components of your application. And I've seen it too many times where referees are the reason why some students don't meet up with application deadlines. That's the reason why I said there are two factors that make for a good referee. Number one, they can say specific things about you that has to do with writing. Number two is willingness. Willingness to meet up time. Willingness to write the right things about you. Very important. Don't pick just anybody. And also don't ask me to be a referee. I will not be a referee. So that's just by the way. Now, let's talk about your writing sample. Okay? Your writing sample is what I talked about earlier when I was talking about your research proposal. The writing sample, you can publish your writing sample on LinkedIn, whatever it is. And sometimes I've had calls to tell students to go ahead and draft a writing sample specifically for the purpose of applying to a program because they've never written anything before, So if a program requires that you submit a writing sample, and this is specifically for those who maybe might be applying for things like creative writing, English, literature, or applying for a research program, whether a master's or PhD, whatever the case is, writing sample might be necessary for you to actually draft that. Okay? So it's something that, you have to write in line with the requirements of the school. So if they say they want 4,000 words, please don't write 4,200 words. Don't even write 4,005 words. Make sure it is either under 4,000 or 4,000 on the dot. And remember, for your writing sample, except you are writing like a short story, a poem, but if you are doing like an article or a research paper, you must reference your work, because they know that the things in that writing sample, you did not just come from your mind. You're not the first person to speak about those things. You picked a lot of those information from somewhere. So referencing is key in your writing sample. What did I say, guys?
Referencing is key to your writing sample.
Exactly. Referencing is key in your writing sample. Now, finally, there might be other special requirements. So some schools might say, oh, well, we want you to submit something called a diversity statement, your ability to work with people from different walks of life. And let me give you an example. Us in Nigeria, we don't advance, we don't legalize LGBTQ. Is that correct? Okay, well, it's now longer. It's LGBTQIA, right? We don't stand for that in Nigeria. But please, when you're applying abroad, you cannot be talking about all those kind of things. what they want to see in your diversity state. This is not the time to preach to anybody. Nobody needs to read that. Okay? Just, you must be able to demonstrate that you are receptive to different people from different walks of life. Okay? If you show any form of discrimination towards other people who have different beliefs than yourself, or who, represent themselves in another way other than what you do, you're going to shoot yourself in the leg. All right? You are going to shoot yourself in the leg. So it's very important. Okay? Now, I've come to the icing on the cake, which is the scholarship side of things. Now, in any school, even making it on your academic tracker or application tracker, remember the qualities I said you must, or the factors that grants a school to even make it on this list. Number one, you meet all their requirements. Number two, they give scholarships. Number three, you'll be able to afford the application fee. So very important. Okay. Scholarships. If a school does not give scholarships and you know that you cannot afford to send yourself abroad, there is no reason why, absolutely no reason why, the school should be on your application tracker. Okay, guys. I hope I've not bombarded you people with too many information within this webinar. Let me know in the chat box, how are you guys feeling? Hope I've not given you too many information and you're like, oh my God, this is too much. Okay, fantastic. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Someone said, what is a diversity statement all about? Now, to be honest, you can write your diversity statement in different ways, but oftentimes universities have specific instructions as to what your diversity statement should look like. So, yeah, you will need to follow the instructions of the university, okay, in what your diversity statement should look like. You need to follow the instructions of the university. So, the instructions of the university will be able to guide you better. All right. All right. So am I safe to move forward? Let me know. Did we understand everything that was discussed on this page? Let me know in the chat box. Did we understand everything? Because we're going to do a quick revision before I move forward, so I know that all of you truly understood what was said. Fantastic. Okay, let's quickly do a dry run. What did I say are the foremost criteria for choosing a university? Let me use the hand raising function. I will invite you to speak and you're going to speak. What did I say are the key factors of a of choosing a university? You can use the hand raising function and I will call you. Okay. I think I saw Emmanuel first. So Emmanuel, you can unmute and speak.
Yeah, thanks, Coach Jimmy. The three things to look out for. First is meeting the requirements. Second is you being able to afford the application fee. And third is do they offer full funding, which can come in various for maybe graduate or teaching assistantship, fellowship, or something like that. So those are the three things to look out for.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Well done. So, who can tell me about references? What are the two factors I said you should look out for? Okay. Alpha, your hand is up. Can unmute and speak.
Thank you. So, I listened well. You spoke of the worthiness of the referee to be able to speak on your behalf or to be able to work on your behalf. He also spoke for whether your reference can be able to say any specific things about you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well done. That's great. Thank you very much for telling us that. Please, if you know that you missed any part of this, please make sure you take note of it now that we're doing the recap so that you're able to catch up. All right. Now, my next question would be, in writing your essay, your personal statements, what are the 3 things I said must be in your personal statement? Anyone, use the hand raising function and I'll call you, invite you to speak. Okay, so I have Abdul Hakim Adeshokwe.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, for the personal statements, you mentioned of the first thing that an applicant should put in his or her mind is to tell his or her story first. Then secondly, to have a good opening statement, and the body must also maybe like can relate with the opening statement, then couple with the what a good closing statement that will be able to conclude everything that can be able to relate with first statement and the body. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Great. Great. I like that. It shows me that you guys are paying very good attention. Great. Okay. So brings me to another question. What are the 2 main, okay, wait. I said something first. I said there are 2 things you must do before writing your research proposal. What are those 2 things you must do before writing your research proposal? Who can tell me?
Me.
Who said me? Someone said me. Was that Mary or Oluwaseun? Okay, you know what? I'll call Mary because I've not heard Mary's voice.
Okay, thank you so much. The first thing you said we must do is we must outline our research interest. Then we have to find professors that have similar interests to those things so we can reach out to them.
Fantastic. I'm very happy that you got that. So don't write your research proposal before finding a professor. I've said that before and I'll say it again. And this is specifically for those of you in the bootcamp right now. Do not write your research proposal before finding a professor. Outline your interests first, then find professors that align with that interest and even some more, okay? Then you write your research proposal. That's the best way to get the best professors. Okay? Fantastic. Now, what did I say about those that are perhaps going into PhD and it's required that they have done one publication or the other? What did I say about those people? Who wants to speak? Use the hand raising function.
Me.
Amy, is that Amy or something? You keep saying me, what's the problem? Okay. Okay, Oluwaseun, please speak.
All right, thank you. In a situation where I probably would like to further my PhD, one of the key factors that you highlighted is that in terms of probably where I would like to like publish my my articles, and I I don't have an article that is published. It spoke about leveraging LinkedIn, where I could always publish my writing sample and article.
Absolutely.
And also tagging relevant professors, and also understanding that doing that, in terms of my writing samples, I also have to understand that referencing is also key to the writing sample, because we all know that definitely I'll be getting information from several options. So I have to ensure that I also reference my writing sample.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So I think that we've covered the major part of this tracker. So we're just going to move along. Now, do you want our application tracker? Let me ask you guys, would you guys like to receive our application tracker? Yeah, yes. Okay. 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 For those of you that are already in the bootcamp, you already have access to the application tracker. So I'll be surprised if you've not downloaded it by now. But okay. Okay. So we understand that applying to multiple graduate schools, applying to multiple graduate schools, you're not alone. Most students do it to increase their chances of getting in, but we know the process can quickly turn into juggling act with all the deadlines, fees, and different requirements to keep track of. But don't stress out. So my team is going to drop a form in the chat box for a chance to get our application tracker. And you just need to fill the form and you get the application tracker sent to you for free. It's completely for free. You're not paying anything to get this. It keeps everything organized, from your application fees to deadlines, all in one easy to update place, okay? No more overwhelming, just smooth sailing throughout your graduate application process. So they're going to drop the form in the chat box and you can go ahead, fill it, and you're going to get the application tracker latest by Monday. They'll send it to you. Now, let me talk very briefly about our bootcamp. I saw that someone mentioned, well, I'd love to join the bootcamp, but I cannot afford it. I completely understand. But I always tell people that they should try to not see the bootcamp as some kind of expense, but rather as an investment. I'm going to share some testimonials with you from our bootcampers shortly of their own success stories. And I always tell people, don't see it as some kind of expense on you, but rather an investment. It's an investment on your future and what you want for yourself, right? So right now, our bootcamp is still on a discount. And I think the discount is going to end the 4th of October or so. You get 10% off if you're in Nigeria, and you also get 10% off if you're abroad. It's $90 for the bootcamp for those that are outside Nigeria, and 90,000 naira for those within Nigeria. So if you know you're interested, our team is going to drop the link for payment in the chat box as well. You can go ahead and sign up. We have just one more cohort for this year, which starts in October 12th. So if you know that you want to be a part of that cohort and your intention is to study abroad by this time next year, I encourage you to join. As you can see, if our webinar is this packed, just imagine what you're going to get from the bootcamp, and I'm not going to lie to you, you are going to work. I am going to put you to work. So just have that, prepare your mind that you're going to work in every step and in every aspect of this. Nobody is going to spoon feed you or write anything for you. You're going to do it yourself. Our job is to make you self-dependent in such a way that you're able to do go through this process by yourself, so that by the time you travel, you're also able to flourish in their own academic system, because it's very different from what is obtainable here in Nigeria. All right. So here are some of the things you're going to get from our bootcamp. You're going to get you're going to learn so many things, but let me go through it because a lot of times people say things like, oh, but what is the bootcamp about? What am I going to learn? This, that, and that, and the third. So, one, you're going to learn practical strategies to transform previous rejections into multiple admissions with scholarship offers. You're going to learn how to choose the right schools, the right courses, and the right countries. Some of you don't know, US is not the only destination. We've had students who secured full scholarships to South Africa, and from South Africa made their way to the US for their PhD. We've had students who got full scholarships to Germany, to Belgium, to Netherlands, to Poland, Finland, okay, to France. Please, US is not the only place. There's so many other countries. I can't even begin to count the amount of our community members who have gotten the DAD scholarship for Germany, you know, or the MIND scholarship for, I think, Belgium or so. So please, don't be too fixated on UK, Canada, US. There are many places. Australia is there. New Zealand is there. We've had students who have gone to these countries, to these destinations. Okay. And when we guide you on the schools to choose and the destinations to look at, please be receptive to it. That's the reason why at the beginning of this cohort, I said, thank you so much for sharing that, Eva. We really appreciate you for sharing that. You know, at the beginning of this program, one of the things I asked you people to do is be open-minded, because you're not going to get what you want out of the bootcamp if you're closed-minded. If you operate only on what you know, it's not going to take you very far, right? Now, you're also going to learn how to find and apply for and win hidden scholarships, okay? So we tell our students, don't be myopic in your view. There are so many ways to get scholarships, and there are so many forms of scholarships. So one of the things we teach our community members is how to search for these different forms of scholarships and find them and apply for them, okay? Now, you're also going to learn how to secure admissions and scholarships into Ivy League schools and other prestigious universities. You're going to learn how to secure these admissions even when you have a 2-2. Far too many times have I had people say, oh, but I finished with a 2-2. I don't know if they will give me admission. Except otherwise stated by the school, you having a 2-2 is not an impediment. You can always explain and make up for your having a 2-2. Now, how to how to tell your unique story. Write irresistible personal statement. What I gave you during this session is only a snippet of some of the tools we teach our community members. There's something we call the CARD strategy. I'm only going to tell you the meaning of the C. The C in a CARD strategy is called contextualization. A lot of us don't know how to contextualize when we are writing essays. These people you are applying to, they don't know the meaning of kulikuli. They probably never heard it before, and they will never hear it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you're writing, it's important that you contextualize in such a way that these people understand what you're talking about, right? How to draft an attention-grabbing research proposal to secure full scholarship from multiple supervisors. We want a case where you are the one being confused of which professor to go with. Not that you are struggling to find even one professor to be willing to work with you. That's problematic. You know, how to write a graduate school CV. A lot of us don't know how to write a graduate school CV that stands out and unlocks doors to admissions and scholarships. Other bonus preparation that you might get within our community is how to prepare for an outstanding visa application that cannot be rejected, you know, because by the time you have a full scholarship to a school, it increases your chances of getting your visa approved. Now, you also be able to access, our extensive alumni network. Of course, we also have to ask the alumni if they'll be willing to connect with you. Some of them say yes, some of them say no. But yes, you have a good amount of people that you can access within our community. Now, so I'm going to show you some of our alumni. This is Faith Ezomime. She was one of our boot campers. She went through the boot camp process in 2021 and she got admitted to Harvard University, Harvard Law. And she didn't just get admitted, but she got a full scholarship to attend. And what's interesting is that she went through the program and ended up, writing the bar exam for New York State Bar and also passed as well. So she's now a certified lawyer in the United States. We also have other people. We have Michael Faleye. He was a boot camper last year. He's currently in the University of Georgia. Some of us that attended our last webinar in this community will know that they met Michael Faleye. He's currently studying law at the University of Georgia as well. We also have Matilda Akiesi. She's Ghanaian. She joined us in 2020. She applied and also got into the University of Oxford and secured the MasterCard AFOX scholarship. She has finished her BCL at the University of Oxford and is currently working for the University of Oxford as a research contract officer. We also have Odera. Odera went through the bootcamp process in 2022 and secured the Shibden Scholarship in 2023. She studied business at University of Warwick and is now an alumni of the Shibden Scholarship. We've also had other people. We have Phyllis. Phyllis did not only secure one MasterCard scholarship, he secured 3 MasterCard scholarships in 3 different universities. How wild is that? Where people are struggling to secure one, he secured 3. It's secured in Oxford, secured in Cambridge, and also secured in University of Berkeley. Can you imagine? So this can be you too. All right. We also have Joseph here. He also secured a full scholarship to study at the University of Arkansas, his law degree. So before we leave, I'm going to leave the door open for those of us who might have a question or two that we want to ask. I'm happy to answer your questions. You can either put them in the chat box or you can ask me directly. Now, before we go into questions and answers, let me just give us an overview of our upcoming events and then I'll stop sharing my screen. Our upcoming events, we'll have another webinar coming up next week where we're going to do all things CV. It's going to be about CV. We're going to break it down seriously for you guys. What should be in your CV? What should not be in your CV? Okay. Now, and then our third cohort is going to open October 12th. And of course, if you join our cohort, you definitely stand a chance of being at that event as well. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to open up the door for questions and answers. We're going to do that over the next 15 to 30 minutes before we call it today. Okay, so if you have a question, use the hand raising function and I'll call you to speak. And in the absence of questions, we can just call it a day. If you have questions, you can use the hand raising function. I'll call you up to speak. But if you don't have any questions, that's completely fine as well. You can just call it a day. Okay, I think someone dropped a question here. It says, please, what is the difference between sending cold email and sending a research proposal? So in sending your cold email, sending a cold email is, or rather, a cold email is you sending an email to someone you have either never spoken to or you have not spoken to in a while. Okay. So that's what a cold email is. Now, a research proposal, you can't send a cold email to a professor without attaching your research proposal if you want them to supervise you for something. Am I making sense? It's not effective for you to send a cold email to a professor without sending them your research proposal. So that means you must have done significant preliminary work before even thinking of sending your research proposal to a professor. Am I making sense? So they are the same thing pretty much. They are the same thing and they are intertwined. Except you're sending a cold email for maybe you're trying to seek a job or something like that. That's a whole different ball game. But if it's for the purpose for them to supervise you, they have to be together. They're the same thing. Okay. I hope that answers your question. All right. Okay, you can unmute and speak.
Hello, good afternoon. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
All right, it has been a very wonderful session, and I really enjoyed it, to be very honest. And the only question I have is, I'm trying to switch career. I'm trying to switch career. Yeah, I don't know the possibility of that happening, because the last time I applied was just on the same route to what I studied in my bachelor's degree. But now I want to switch career. I want to change from what I did in my bachelor, what I studied in my bachelor
Okay, so what did you do
undergraduate.
and what do you want to do?
Okay, I studied microbiology, but I want to
Okay.
switch into computer science because ever since I graduated and I've been working under the tech firm. So I want to know if I
Oh,
can get a master's degree there. Yeah.
yes, you can.
So that's why.
Now, it's tricky. Oftentimes, your situation is very peculiar. So oftentimes, what
Yeah.
I've found in the past is that people come, they studied maybe let's say they study microbiology like you did, and they want to go into communication, but maybe they've never done anything in communication. That is very tricky. Okay. Now that is difficult to do. But you have been working in the field of technology. Let me ask you, do you have certifications that you have gotten over the years?
I don't have, the only cert I have was when I did a boot camp on the tech with a tech institute. So they offered a
Yeah.
certificate, yeah, to show that yes, I learned and I acquired these skills with them.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
So I've
my
also
question,
worked, right?
my question for you would be what area of work have you been doing? Like, give me an overview of what exactly you've been doing. That would help me answer your question better.
I've worked in a tech firm where I worked as a software developer, back-end engineer, and front-end engineer. That's full stack. Yes.
You said what? Front end and back end?
Front end and
Is that what you
back-end
said?
engineering for software development.
So in your case, I hear you. In your case, the best thing to do would be to go for an MBA. Now, I want you to listen to me. Don't shoot what I'm saying down. Just listen. Go for an MBA. In your MBA, in your search for an MBA, first of all, obviously, you are looking for a program that offers a full scholarship. That's your number one criteria. Then number two, you're also going to be looking out for programs that have a specialization in business analytics or data science or technology. What are the programs I mentioned? The sub-programs I mentioned?
That's MBA, like business analytics. And you also mentioned what's it called again? So I couldn't get the other two, but I had business analytics.
Business analytics, data science, and information technology. Those are the three things you're looking at. And then it's a bonus for you if you get cybersecurity under your MBA. But it's unlikely, but they exist. But the only issue is that oftentimes if you want to go for computer science degree or a cybersecurity degree, oftentimes they don't give funding for these programs. And the reason why is because they are high earning programs. They know that by the time you finish the program, you're going to be earning really well. So they anticipate that it's okay for you to take a loan because you'll be able to pay it off. Do you understand what I'm saying? So don't shoot
Yes.
yourself in the leg and don't set yourself up. You can go for an MBA, look for fully funded MBA programs, apply for an MBA, specialize in data science or business analytics or information technology. The most
Information technology.
yeah, the most popular one you're going to find really will be data science or will be data science or business analytics. Those are the ones that you easily find, so sit down, take some time, search for it. And then to increase your chances, if you think that you are up for writing a GRE or a GMAT, that will help. Or if you can take a certification, there are so many international certification. I know that there's one that is called something Q. I can't remember, but I know there's something. It has Q in it. The name skips my mind now. That
Okay.
all these cybersecurity people get internationally. There's a something Q exam that they get. Hopefully I remember during the course of this program. It comes to memory for me. But if you can take your certification, at least one certification that is internationally recognized, that would also boost your chances. But thank you so much, SQL. God bless you. So if you
SQL.
can,
Okay, SQL.
yeah. So if you can take that exam, if you can get that certification, that also increases your chances. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, it's something you can absolutely do. Or another thing you can do is apply for a master's in information technology. Go online, search for fully funded information technology master's program. So you can take 2 MBAs that are fully funded and 2 masters in information technology, and you apply for both. Whichever sticks for you, you go for it. Because if you apply for an MBA, you still get the opportunity of getting a job in a high-tech organization if you go to a good MBA program. And even if you apply for information technology, the same thing. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to do. If you know you don't want to write a GRE, consider taking the SQL. And even if you don't want to write any of them, it's okay too. There are people who have gotten these opportunities without any of these certifications. You just need to make sure that your application is, stellar, So yeah. Any other questions from anyone?
Okay, one more from my end. The link for the what was it called? The application form. I didn't get it because my network keep going off and on. So I don't know if you can share so that I can as well fill that form you
Adeshawa,
talked about.
please. Adeshawa, please share the form with Okeke directly so he gets it.
Thank you.
Of course. Any other? Okay, I think there are some questions in the chat box. Let me quickly look at them before I call any other person. Okay, Alpha says, do you think it's prudent to apply for MasterCard scholarship at 2 or more affiliated schools of the MasterCard Foundation at the same time? Yeah. Like I said, one of our boot campers won 3. So why not? It's completely fine. Any other question? Richard says, I completed my master's in sustainable finance and accounting. I've been looking for PhD around this, but not found yet. My only question will be to you with this will be, what have you been searching for? Are you going around searching for a PhD in finance? Or are you searching for a PhD in accounting? Because how you go about searching for a PhD program matters. I can tell you right now, if I sit down with your interest for a few minutes, I'm going to find a PhD. What am I saying? A PhD, a couple PhD programs that covers your interest. I will find at least 5, you know. So my question to you will be, how have you been searching? What have you been looking out for in your search processes? Because that is what really matters. Okay. So, and this is part of things we teach in our bootcamp, how to search, how to search for PhD programs is part of the things, how to look for schools and the schools to look for. Now, what I will tell you to do is, what are your sub-interests under sustainable finance and accounting? What are those areas that are of interest to you? There is no rule that says it's compulsory for you to go for a PhD titled finance and accounting. And that's where people really mess things up. They are so fixated on going for a program. Let's say they went for a master's in education. They are looking for a PhD in education. Not compulsory, not necessarily. It might be a PhD in sociology that gives you a full overview of your research interest that really aligns with your research interest. So what you need to do first, just like I said, in securing a research proposal, is sit down. Bolanwa, please mute yourself. Is sit down and look for schools that, itemize your areas of interest first. That's the thing you need to do. That's the foremost thing you need to do. After doing that, you then start searching for schools that cover these areas of interest. Okay. Now, you might find that by the time you go through this process, it might be a PhD in economics you eventually go for. You might find that to be the case. Or you might find yourself going for a PhD in something else that is not necessarily accounting and finance, but still covers sustainability in financial management. Okay, so please, going through your application process is important, that you're not too fixated on anything. So Sophia says, as someone entering their final year of uni, what do you advise I do to better prep? Fantastic. I love this question. Please, team, can we share our free undergraduate course with Sophia? So I would encourage you to go through that undergraduate course. It helps you really begin to sow the right seeds now before you finish. So the societies you're meant to join, you start joining them today. The professors you're meant to be getting closer to, you start getting closer to them today. The networks you're meant to build, you start building them today. So our team has shared the course online. So please copy that link and go ahead, fill the course and take the course. It's free, so you can completely do that. Okay, Oluwadamilala, please unmute and speak.
All right then. Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for the insights so far. Really helpful. I have quite a few questions. The first being, in terms of, picking, most of the, the stories you shared, they had backgrounds in law. I find this personally relatable with. What do you think of transitioning, not particularly from law, but from law to perhaps maybe, an adjunct course, possibly something like public policy or, real estate management, or, in those terms? what do you think that's something that's possible? Do you think they have scholarship programs for that? And yeah, that's the first one. I just have 2 really, so perhaps we can take the first one and then I can ask the second one afterwards.
Okay, fantastic question. So let me be honest with you. Law, public policy, you're not really transitioning. It's one in the same. You understand what I'm saying? So you're not really transitioning. So it's still well in line for you to go for a master's in public policy if you study law. That's completely fine. Or public administration or public affairs. That's completely fine. Or international relations. You're not out of line. Now, transitioning would be you maybe you studied law and now you want to go for finance. Now that will be quite a transition for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're not out of place for doing that. And in terms of scholarships for public policy, there's so many scholarships of public policy. There are so many schools that give full scholarships for you to study public policy or public administration or public affairs, whatever the name they might give it. Blessing Bright, please mute yourself. Whatever the name they might give it. So there's so many opportunities for you to do that. A quick Google search would solve the problem in that. As far as real estate management goes, I wouldn't advise you to go for a master's in real estate management. There aren't many funding opportunities in that regard, except you're going for a research program. That's a different ball game. There aren't many funding for you to go for a master's in research management. And that is only if funding is a factor for you. Okay, so yeah. Blessing Bright, please mute yourself.
All right. Thank you. That's really helpful. Then my second question is, you know, I
Sorry,
don't know
before you go further, however, if you know that you're really keen about real estate, you can consider taking an MBA, or a management program. And then you can use your degree at the end of the day. When you're choosing your courses, you choose courses that are much more in line with estate management. If that's something you really want to do, then you can go that route.
All right, thank you. Then the second bit of question I have is, in terms of, let's imagine for a moment, all things said and done, an applicant has gotten the scholarship, they've headed off to England, wherever. What are the immediate challenges these people go through? Because there's so much focus on we got in, we were there, but I don't know. I think I would like to hear a bit rather on, the terms of they arrived, fitting in generally, because it's one thing to get a scholarship, it's one thing to underutilize the scholarship, because I hear so much about people getting in, they get there and it's as though they fall off the face of the earth and then they just resurface with a degree. And I think that's really a gray area that I find very, very particularly strange. It happens almost every year. You see people, they just, I got in, they're gone. No one says anything about what happened the first week. So I imagine there are some challenges that would be better mitigated from the onset. Or do you have something to that, please?
Fantastic. So peculiarly to our getting community. Now, if you go through our bootcamp, one thing it teaches you is resilience. Because for you to even succeed, you must have a level of resilience within you. Am I communicating? You must have a very resilient and dogged spirit. Because I'm not going to lie to you, the bootcamp is a lot of work. Sometimes people get the wrong ideas, like someone is going to be writing their essays for you. Absolutely not. That's not going to happen. The tools we teach you are so interdisciplinary in such a way that, you get so much within 3 months. And if you really incorporate yourself into that process, you're fortified for life, really. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to think differently. It teaches you how to view life in a different way. So if you have gone through that kind of preparatory process and you get to somewhere like the United States, especially because you wrote your essays yourself, you wrote your research statement yourself, you went through this process yourself, it's almost impossible for you to get there and now begin to fail. To be honest, our boot campers are in good places, especially those who have graduated. Ezioma that went to Eziomime, rather, Faith Eziomime that went to Harvard University and got qualified for the New York Bar Association. She got into Allen and Overy. Allen and Overy is one of the biggest law firms in the world. And she has crossed over from Allen and Overy now. She's working with another big time law firm. The name skips my mind now. The lady who went to Oxford University works for Oxford now. You know, we've had people who work for Google, we've had people who work for Microsoft, for Binance, for different organizations. You get what I'm saying? So typically our boot campers, tell me wrong, you will face challenges. Maybe in terms of cultural shock, in terms of fitting in, you know, language barrier. People are saying sure to you, and you're like, like you're not hearing what they're saying very well. I get that. But because of the resilience you have built as a result of the bootcamp, I mean, imagine putting in all that work, you achieve your goal, and then fail at the end of the day. Who does that? You get what I'm saying? So because of that resilience you've built, it allows you to thrive. Because the lessons you learn from the bootcamp is truly, and I'm being honest with you, truly interdisciplinary. So, yeah, you know, they do face challenges, but our boot campers don't fall off the face of the earth, is what I'm trying to say. They transition, they build on that and go to the next thing. And you know, different people have different goals for themselves. Some people are just fine, you know, getting a decent job and working and moving on with life. While some people want to be groundbreakers. They want to establish an organization. They want to establish this and establish that. Different people have different future goals for themselves, you know. And for some people, they simply just want to leave this country. It's their goal. That's all they want. They just want to japa. So, yeah. So that's it.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Joyce?
Hey everyone, good afternoon. So I have a question concerning universities that have like subsidiary for like business school. Example, UCD has a business school. So when I tried applying, I discovered that UCD has like a scholarship program, while the business school also has a scholarship program, but it doesn't like it's not fully funded. So I want to ask, does like the university does the scholarship in the university, does it cover for the business school, or they are separate entities because they have separate websites?
Then that tells you it's separate.
Okay.
You've already answered your own question. That tells you it's separate. Now, let me tell you this. Oftentimes, these MBAs do not necessarily give full scholarship. It's an exceptional thing to find an MBA that will give you a full scholarship. So don't be too fixated on going to UCD. I'm guessing that's University College of Dublin. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't be too fixated on going to UCD. If you know that a full scholarship is really what you're looking for, you might have to think far and wide a little bit more to get what you want. Okay? Or you go for another program that will give you a full scholarship and then transition to an MBA later on, maybe after you've worked for a minute and secured enough money to pay the deficit. I mean, you're the one who said they don't give full funding. Okay, so if they don't give full funding and you know you need full scholarship, then that means you're backing up the wrong tree. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Remember what I said.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
Yeah, remember what I said about picking a school. The 3 factors. If any of those factors are missing, it's the wrong school. Simple and short. You said you were thinking something.
No, I was just thinking that since it's a branch, then maybe like the tree covers everything. Like
No, so for Western schools, unlike how it's operated in Nigeria, for Western schools, oftentimes a school is a standalone, especially when it's a well-established school. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, for instance, let's say you're applying to Harvard University, the Harvard scholarship is not the same as HBS, Harvard Business School. Absolutely not. Or Harvard Law School. Harvard Law School and Harvard Business School, they don't share the same scholarship structure. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
so they
get
have
you.
different funding structure. So even if Harvard as a whole gives scholarship in so many areas, that doesn't mean the school you're under gives scholarship.
Yeah.
Do you get? It's a
Yeah.
little complicated, but trust me, when you just take time to like go through everything, it becomes clearer.
Yeah.
Now,
Thank you.
of course, you're welcome. Olayemi says, I'm trying to see if I can transition from BSc Environmental Biology and Fisheries to an MSc in Agriculture. How is that a transition? Olayemi, are you here? Unmute and speak to me. How is that a transition? Is Olayemi here?
Yes, good afternoon, Coach Jimmy.
Hi. Who is this a transition now?
Okay. So
Are
I'm
they not
actually looking at
related?
if I
Agriculture
can get
and biology and fisheries. Are they not in the same boat?
Okay, they're in the same boat. They're in the same boat.
So it's not a transition. Just like the person who asked me, can I transition from law to public policy and public affairs? It's the same thing. As a public policy expert, you are creating, literally, you are influencing the laws of a society or a community. It's the same thing. So if you studied environmental biology and fisheries, there's absolutely no reason why you cannot transit. In fact, if you want to go into botany, you can do that. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
It just
Yeah,
depends
I do.
on how you write your essay for your agricultural standpoint. So what are you going to be looking at in your application for this agricultural science program? What are you looking at? In fact, let me just even give you a T right now. There's so many scholarships for agriculture, and that's the truth. A lot of schools in different parts of the world are actually looking for people to come and study agriculture in their countries.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you say you've done things in fisheries, so what is your how will I put this? What is a transitioning factor for you? Let me ask you that. What do you want to use this agricultural degree for?
Okay, I feel like maybe at some point, because while I was trying to read a bit on it, I am looking at actually how I can link it up with some SDG goals, in the sense that at the end of the day, I know I can use it to alleviate poverty, helping people out there, providing solution, increasing how to make life more easy by that is under the livestock for agriculture, while also looking at the natural aspect of it. I think these ways I can impute them in my essays.
Honestly, you don't even need to work too hard on this, because already you studying biology and fisheries, you are already working in the SDG lineup, because you're doing life science already. You get what I'm saying? So what area of agriculture are you interested in now? What area of
I'm actually
agriculture?
interested in livestock, majorly livestock. Animal
Exactly.
husbandry.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even if you want to stick to fisheries, you will find your headway. You will find a way to get it. Say, look, listen to me when I tell you this. Even if you apply for a master's in agriculture, a master's in biology, a master's in fisheries, a master's in botany, a master's in maybe livestock science or life science, trust me when I tell you, if you search well, you should be able to secure at least 2 or 3 fully funded scholarships. You should be able to, because agriculture is an area of interest for a lot of countries right now. And for those of you that are
Okay.
considering, you don't know what you want to go and study, look into agriculture if you did anything remotely close to sciences. And I'm being very serious about that.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much.
you absolutely can do that. You just need to find. Okay, so let me ask, what has been your work experience so far? Where have you been working? Do you own like a fishery or a poultry or something like that?
Okay. Well, I did some. Okay. Yes, I majorly I've worked with some companies before that were into feed and fish production. Though at some point I tried moving into tech. Currently, I have a small poultry product that I do now myself, and
See,
so I've not really been able to. Okay,
I feel very sad when I
I'm
see
listening.
that so many people are trying to move into tech, 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 tech. Let me tell you something. Everybody wants to eat in life. It's not tech we're going to eat. Do you understand what I'm saying? Why do you think there's so much
Yes.
scholarship in the areas of agriculture, creating food, nutrition? Do you understand what I'm saying? Why do you think there's even if you want to go for animal nutrition, you absolutely
Yeah.
can with this background you have. Do you understand what I'm saying? Making sure that there's
Okay.
healthy
Yes,
animals
I'm with you.
for human consumption.
Yes.
Don't join the
Okay.
bandwagon of, oh, I want to become a developer. I want to become a developer. Everybody will not become a developer. There's even, especially that you mentioned, you've worked with organizations that create feed. You can even make your interest around feeding animals in such a way that, we have a surplus of food, because one of the things, an SDG goal is eradicating hunger. People are hungry. People are poor. People are hungry.
Yes.
So how can we find a way of creating agriculture in a financially what's the word now? Minimizing the financial cost of feeding, of creating food for people, especially in the underserved areas. Nutrition is a big look. Listen. You are on the right track already. And I'm just going to tell you that right now. Continue in the track you're in. Don't start doing technology and technology that is not technology. Okay? Please, and please. Focus on, what you're doing. And the only thing I would say is find a way to tie your interests to the most relevant area of interest of your destination country. So, for instance, the United States, animal nutrition is a big deal. Livestock is a big deal.
Okay.
Studying animal diseases and how to solve them is a big deal. So you can put your research around that. You already run a poultry. You have a knowledge about the feeding of animals. So tie all of that together and put forward a compelling story. All right. Wishing you all the best. Okay, Richard said animal nutrition is a big, yeah, it is. I agree. Okay. Elizabeth says, please, is there anything I can know about sending my transcript for LSAC? I'm applying for, what's this? LIM. Okay. Is it LLM? Okay, I think it's LLM. LLM, and most schools in US and Canada require that through LSAC, what schools are you looking at? It's not that you're trying to apply for law school, because that's the only time when schools demand that. LSAC. Okay. for most of our community members that have gone for their LLM, they didn't have to go through the process of the LSAC verification. So, yeah, I think you should look at schools who probably don't require it. And if you must go through the process of sending in your LSAC, then you do exactly that. A quick Google search helps you, okay? Do exactly that. Go on Google, figure out how to go about it. Please mute yourself, Olayemi. Figure out how to do that and go ahead with it. And if your transcriptors go through LSAC, you do that. You just go through it just like the regular WES that people do for most schools. You send your transcript to them, let them verify and send it to your school. It's as simple as that. You know, I don't think it's a complicated process. All right, I think we've come to the end of this session. I really want to thank the 50 of you that have stayed to the end. If you know that you think you might need extra guidance, consider joining our bootcamp. We're a family over here and we support one another. But if not, even if you want to go on the process by yourself, I truly wish you the best and hope to see you guys at the top. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day and bye. You can expect our email about the materials that we promised you. You can expect that over the next 1 week. Over the next week, rather. And I'm wishing you guys the best of luck. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Thank you so much, Coach.
Bye and thank you.